There's a place on this planet where the sun disappears for 4 straight months, and when it finally returns, it never sets for 4 more. A place where the nearest neighbor isn't a town, it's the North Pole. A place so empty that in an entire year, only a handful of human beings will ever set foot on it. This is not the edge of the map, this is the last page of it. Welcome to nothing, welcome to everything, welcome to Ellesmere Island. Let's talk numbers first, because numbers are the only language that can begin to describe how alone this place truly is. Ellesmere Island covers roughly 196,000 square kilometers, making it the 10th largest island on the entire planet and the 3rd largest in Canada. To put that into perspective, it's nearly the size of Great Britain, yet it holds a permanent population you could fit inside a single school bus. Stretching over 800 kilometers from top to bottom, Ellesmere sits at the very top of the Canadian Arctic archipelago. This is not an island you stumble upon. This is an island you have to fight your way toward by charter plane through weather that can change from clear skies to a whiteout in minutes. Much of Ellesmere is buried beneath ice caps and glaciers in places nearly 900 meters thick, pressing down on mountains that have stood since the last ice age. And yet, despite being one of the coldest places on Earth, Ellesmere is technically classified as a polar desert. Some regions here receive less than 70 millimeters of precipitation a year, drier than the core of the Sahara. It is a place where ice and desert exist in the same breath, a contradiction nature never bothered to explain to anyone. At the northern tip of this frozen desert lies a settlement called Allure. It's not a town in any traditional sense, no streets, no shops, no permanent residents in the way you'd imagine. It's a rotating handful of military personnel and scientists, usually somewhere between 50 and 150 people at any given time, who call themselves, only half-jokingly, the Frozen Chosen. Allure holds a title no other inhabited place on Earth can claim. It is the northernmost permanently occupied location on the planet, roughly 817 kilometers from the North Pole itself, and by a strange twist of geography, it actually sits closer to Moscow than it does to Canada's own capital, Ottawa. For half the year, the people stationed here live in total darkness. For the other half, the sun simply refuses to set. There is no in-between here. There is no dusk, there is no dawn, there is only the switch flipping from endless night to endless day. Why would anyone build a station in a place like this? During the Cold War, Allure's isolation was exactly the point. Perched at the top of the world and closer to Soviet territory than to most of Canada, Allure became one of the most valuable listening posts on the planet, a silent outpost built specifically to catch signals drifting across the pole from the other side of the world. Even today, long after the Cold War ended, Allure continues to operate as a signals intelligence station, a place where the loneliest job on Earth is also one of the most strategically important. But if Allure feels remote, it's practically a metropolis compared to what lies further south. Several hundred kilometers away sits Eureka, an even smaller outpost, home to a weather station and a research base so isolated that supply flights are planned months in advance. Eureka holds its own strange title. Researchers have identified it as having some of the best sky-gazing conditions anywhere on Earth, thanks to clear air, almost no light pollution, and months of uninterrupted winter darkness. Astronomers have built a real observatory here, chasing skies untouched by atmospheric interference. But few will ever stand beneath them, because to reach Eureka is to accept that you are now further from another human being than almost anyone else alive. Between these outposts lies a landscape that seems to belong to another era of Earth's history entirely. In the northeastern corner of the island lies Quttinirpaaq, an Inuktitut word that translates simply to top of the world. It is Canada's second largest national park, sprawling across nearly 38,000 square kilometers of glaciers, fjords, and mountains that few humans have ever walked. And yet, in some years, This entire park welcomes fewer than a dozen visitors in total. There are no roads leading in, no trails, no rescue teams standing by. To enter Quttinirpaaq is to accept, fully and completely, that you are on your own. Rising from the heart of this park is Barbeau Peak, standing over 2,600 meters tall, the highest point in all of eastern North America. It is a mountain most Canadians have never heard of, buried inside a park most Canadians will never visit, inside an island most Canadians could not find on a map. And yet it towers above everything east of the Rockies, silent and unclimbed by all but a small number of expeditions in recorded history. But the true secret of this frozen desert isn't hidden in its mountains. It's hidden in a lake. Deep in the Hazen Plateau lies Lake Hazen, the largest lake in the entire high Arctic, stretching over 70 kilometers long and plunging to depths of nearly 270 meters. By every reasonable expectation, a lake this far north, surrounded by polar desert, should be a lifeless expanse of ice. Instead, something strange happens here. Lake Hazen creates what scientists call a thermal oasis, a pocket of unexpected warmth in the middle of one of the coldest environments on the planet. In summer, temperatures around the lake climb warm enough that muskoxen graze along its shores, and wildflowers push through the thin Arctic soil. It is an impossible garden, blooming in defiance of everything around it. In 2004, archaeologists uncovered something remarkable near the shores of this lake: the remains of a stone dwelling and the discarded bones of fish, evidence that people once lived here, members of the ancient Thule culture, ancestors of today's Inuit, who braved this frozen edge of the world centuries before satellites, before airplanes, before anyone knew what lay this far north. They didn't have GPS, they didn't have weather forecasts, they had knowledge passed down through generations and the sheer will to survive in a place that offers no mercy to mistakes. That same resilience echoes through the wildlife that still calls this island home today. In a landscape this hostile, you would expect silence, stillness, nothing but wind and ice. Instead, Ellesmere hides a wilderness, stubbornly clinging to life in ways that shouldn't be possible. Meet the muskox, a creature that looks like it wandered straight out of the last ice age and simply refused to leave. Covered in a thick double layer of fur, including an undercoat so warm it's prized by Arctic communities for its insulating properties, the muskox has survived on this island for thousands of years without migrating south, without hibernating, without giving an inch to the cold. When threatened, muskoxen form a defensive circle, adults facing outward, calves protected in the center, a wall of horns and muscle against wolves and the elements alike. Wandering the same plateau is one of the rarest animals on the continent, the Peary caribou, a smaller, paler cousin of mainland caribou, built specifically for a landscape with almost nothing to eat. Explorer Robert Peary documented this population back in 1909 during his own attempt to reach the North Pole, and remnants of that same fragile herd still roam Ellesmere today. Unlike their southern relatives that travel in the thousands, Peary caribou survive in small, scattered groups, a population so delicate that a single harsh winter can push them dangerously close to collapse. Then there are the wolves. Not the wolves of northern forests, cautious and rarely seen, but Arctic wolves that researchers studying this island have described as unusually unafraid of people, simply because they've had so little contact with us to begin with. It's an eerie reminder that this is one of the only places left on Earth where the food chain hasn't yet fully learned to be afraid of humans. Above the tundra, Arctic hares gather in large groups huddled together against the wind, while snowy owls drift silently overhead, hunting in a world where the sun barely sets for half the year and barely rises for the other half. Along the coastlines, polar bears patrol the sea ice, traveling enormous distances in search of seals, their presence a constant, silent reminder that on this island humans are guests, not masters. And beneath the frozen ground itself, an even stranger discovery awaits. In 2013, scientists from McGill University, digging through Ellesmere Island's permafrost, discovered a bacterium capable of surviving and growing at nearly -15 degrees Celsius, the coldest temperature at which bacterial growth has ever been recorded. Because Ellesmere's permafrost is nearly as cold as the surface of Mars, researchers now study this organism for clues about what kind of life could survive in the frozen, briny conditions believed to exist on Mars and on Saturn's icy moon Enceladus. In other words, this frozen island isn't just a record of Earth's past. It might be a window into life beyond it. Which brings us to the ice itself, because Ellesmere isn't just cold, it's ancient in a way few places on Earth can claim. Along the island's northern coast lies the Ward Hunt Ice Shelf, the largest remaining ice shelf in the entire Arctic. This isn't sea ice that freezes and melts with the seasons. This ice has remained fused to the coastline for roughly 4,000 years, a frozen monument that predates the pyramids. But monuments like this are not permanent, no matter how old they are. Throughout the 20th century, the vast Ellesmere ice shelf that once wrapped almost the entire northern coastline began fracturing into pieces. In 2005, an enormous chunk known as the Ailes Ice Shelf, covering more than 60 square kilometers, broke away entirely and drifted into the Arctic Ocean, an event so massive it registered on seismic monitoring equipment as if the Earth itself had trembled. Ward Hunt still holds on for now. But scientists watching it today describe its future in blunt terms. It is not a question of if it will break apart completely, only when. This is the quiet, unsettling truth beneath all the beauty of Ellesmere Island. The Arctic as a whole is warming several times faster than the global average, and the permafrost that has locked this landscape in place for thousands of years is beginning to soften. The ice shelves that took millennia to form are disappearing within a single human lifetime. What happens to a frozen desert when the freezing stops? Nobody fully knows yet, but Ellesmere Island may be one of the first places on Earth to find out. And still, despite everything working against it, people keep trying to reach this island, not for resources, not for conquest, but for something harder to explain: the simple human need to stand somewhere that has not yet been fully touched. A charter expedition into Quttinirpaaq can cost tens of thousands of dollars, an enormous price simply to walk on land that offers nothing in return but silence, wind, and the occasional distant howl of a wolf. There are no facilities waiting for you, no warm cabin, no signal to call for help. Every single item you might need, food, fuel, shelter, medical supplies, has to be carried in and, just as importantly, carried back out again. This is the paradox at the heart of Ellesmere Island. It is one of the most inhospitable places on the planet, and yet it is also one of the most fiercely protected, because once you strip away the ice, the isolation, and the impossible cold, what's left is one of the last true wildernesses on Earth, a place that has never been reshaped by roads, by cities, by the noise of modern life. Everything here, the muskox herds, the ancient ice shelf, the empty mountain peaks, exists close to how it has for thousands of years, largely untouched, simply because almost nothing on Earth was harsh enough to keep humanity out. Almost nothing except this. There's a strange kind of comfort in knowing a place like this still exists. In a world where nearly every corner of the map has been charted, photographed, and turned into a destination, Ellesmere Island remains something else entirely, a place that has to be earned, that cannot be casually visited, that will not compromise for anyone. The Inuit who once lived along the shores of Lake Hazen understood something we're only now starting to relearn. That survival here was never about conquering the land. It was about learning to move quietly through a place that was never going to bend to human will. Today, the frozen traces of that history are still visible if you know where to look. the stone remains of ancient dwellings near Lake Hazen, the wreck sites and expedition camps left behind by explorers who pushed further north than almost anyone before them, the quiet runway at Eureka, waiting weeks between flights, the silent wireless towers of alert, listening to a world most of its residents won't see again for half a year. Ellesmere doesn't erase its history, it simply holds it in the ice and waits. Maybe that's the real reason this island earns the name Frozen Ghost Land. Not because it's empty of life, because it clearly isn't, but because everything that has ever passed through here, the ancient hunters, the doomed polar expeditions, the Cold War listening posts, the muskox herds that have outlived empires, seems to remain suspended in the ice, preserved rather than erased. Nothing here truly disappears, it just goes quiet, waiting in the permafrost for someone or something to notice it again. As the ice shelves crack and drift away, as the permafrost begins, for the first time in thousands of years, to soften, Ellesmere Island stands as both a monument and a warning. A monument to how resilient life can be in a place that should, by every reasonable measure, be lifeless, and a warning about how quickly even the most ancient, unmovable things on Earth can start to change once the balance shifts. So here's the question worth sitting with. Somewhere out there in the coldest, emptiest corner of North America, wolves are moving across a landscape that has never fully learned to fear humans. Muskoxen are standing guard against a winter that no longer behaves the way it used to, and an ice shelf older than most human civilizations is quietly, slowly coming apart. If one of the last truly empty places on Earth is already changing this fast, what does that tell us about everywhere else? Would you have the courage to stand on Ellesmere Island, alone, in silence, hundreds of kilometers from another living soul, and listen to what it still has left to say?